Few games have spawned a franchise so unique and influential and a fanbase so dedicated to every scrap of content as the original 1992 Shin Megami Tensei for the Super Famicom by Atlus. As an extremely complex, demanding, and forward-thinking title both in gameplay and narrative, its value and appreciation to the gaming landscape is demonstrable and worth recognizing. I'm an avid fan of the entire franchise. In each installment, the tone, style, presentation, and the exploration of morality, humanity, faith, and the apocalypse are so distinct that no other games can compare. So it's difficult to express how memorable, but also how frustrating and boring it was to play the first game. Perhaps the mechanical refinement in the later titles has spoilt me, or just my lack of patience for older, cruder RPGs, but SMT wasn't an enjoyable experience for me. It was a slog of identical battles, grinding, backtracking, and tedious navigation which rarely led to any satisfaction. Yet those moments of narrative and tonal brilliance are here and are still so engrossing that you become invested and intrigued into where it all leads. Shin Megami Tensei, for when it was released, was practically alien in concept. Set in modern day Tokyo during a spate of strange murders and disappearances, you assume the role of a teen living with your mum. During a seemingly precognitive dream, you encounter various other characters and afterwards receive a demon summoning program on your computer. As the days pass and you explore the area, demons start appearing and the military are deployed with rumours of a possible coup. From here, you hook up with the characters from your dream and begin to uncover exactly what's going on and who's behind the spreading anarchy. All the while, you're accosted by peculiar individuals, calls of destiny, and apocalyptic visions. This was so unlike the typical RPGs that were relegated to a fantasy setting. SMT's contemporary world allows a more relatable and realistic exploration of its themes, especially as things get really bad and you fail in preventing massive global calamities. It gets very brutal and unpleasant. The title Shin Megami Tensei stands for the rebirth or reincarnation of the true goddess. The concept of being reborn is a major overarching theme in the first games, from the individual level of recurring characters to a global scale of society collapsing only to be rebuilt. This is seen as an inevitability. What truly matters is the form it takes and who leads it. The ongoing conflict is between the forces of law, led by God, who seeks stability and order, and those of chaos, led by Satan, preferring a world of freedom and strength. In either case, mankind doesn't obtain any sort of choice or destiny beyond the dictations of divine beings, so you can reject both sides and forge a unique path, one of neutrality, though this is undoubtedly the most challenging option. Whether you do it or don't, it amounts to 3 distinctive journeys and conclusions. The dialogue and character interaction is another key appeal and quality of the game that holds it above the era and in line with today's standards. Characters face moral dilemmas and make ethically dubious decisions. Swears are used, something of a taboo prior to the edge of the 2000s. Bars are actual places you can order drinks from. The sexualized references and imagery of multiple sprites, along with having homosexual NPCs, guaranteed it would never see a broader international audience for years. This helps flesh out the world beyond the Dungeons and Dragons spin-offs and Lord of the Rings fanworks. Religious indoctrination, destiny, free will, and death are each powerful, relevant themes that help make Shin Megami Tensei a cult classic and build up a loyal following. Whilst it's easy to heap praise onto the narrative, it's far more challenging to accomplish the same when discussing the gameplay, as it doesn't nearly hold up as well. I understand I'm approaching this with very different expectations, but I personally believe that all games can design around their technical limitations to last well beyond their release date. This is where SMT struggles with its numerous shortcomings. The gameplay is split up between combat and exploration. You have a world map of various buildings and regions you can traverse, essentially the dungeons. While initially quite linear, the game soon opens up with a wide range of options and regions you can explore out of order. The maps themselves are essentially first-person mazes you crawl through, frequently interrupted by random battles. These, as you can see, are rather primitive in presentation. While like you do go to different districts of Tokyo, it's not long till they all blend together with the same textured walls. To actually check your map is a tedious affair of pausing the game and selecting in the options screen. This has been patched out by some nice programmers, though it's only if you're using an emulator. It's another problem, aside from repetitive environments, that really grinds down SMT's environments and why subsequent games may damn sure have a dedicated map button. There are some occasional puzzles like traps and false doors, but it mostly stays the same, making combat and your parties make up the deepest portion of the gameplay. How SMT handled your party's roster was very unlike most RPGs, with perhaps the earlier Final Fantasies and their job system being the closest comparison. There's a few human characters that are permanently attached to you until a story-related point. Otherwise, the rest of your party is made up of various demons you either persuade to join you or create with other demons through a fusion system. There's hundreds of mythological, religious, and Abrahamic related figures and demons that you'll encounter and possibly recruit. Each one has different skills, stats, strengths, and weaknesses which have major importance to your success in the countless battles you undertake. You can't actually improve or level up your demons, so it's highly encouraged to keep adding and removing older demons as you go. Only you and your human allies can actually be leveled up. How you apply your stats is very freeform. However, since you can't actually cast any magic, the intelligence and magic stats are kind of worthless. While demons don't need any EXP, they do require money to be summoned and Magatama to sustain them. This is obtained via fights and negotiations with demons. This gives the world's currency a lot more value outside of buying items. If you run out of either, you can be unable to summon or even use them. Combat begins when a demon appears, giving you the option to escape, talk, or fight it. The figures above representing how many. By talking to a demon, you can net money, items, and Magatama, as well as add them to your party. Philosophical and personality questions can be posed, deciding whether they fight or join you, but mostly they'll ask for money or items before teaming up. Since a lot of negotiation is purely random and more based on your luck stat, getting intermediate with the combat is inevitable. SMT plays like many other turn-based titles. You choose the action of each party member, then you duke it out with the opposition. Physical, magical, and status buffs, debuffs, and element attacks are all important in exploiting the enemy's vulnerabilities. Some elemental attacks have side effects such as stunning or freezing an enemy, while others can totally paralyze them. This is the same for your own side, though much more annoying. Enemies can often spam attacks that trap you and your party, requiring special items and spells to remove. If you don't have them, you're kinda fucked, as these stages are lengthy and fights can be brutal. Players knowledgeable of the series will latch on quickly, but if you don't recognize what these spells are and do, then you're better off sticking to a walkthrough, something you have to do for the dozens of items which are undescriptive. The vast number of battles you'll enter in is in the hundreds, and the constant enemy variation keeps the challenge throughout. If you and your human teammates fall, it's back to the main menu and the most recent save. You're unlikely to survive this ordeal if you don't utilize one of Shin Megami Tensei's most long-lasting and enjoyable mechanics, the Demon Fusion system. With the numerous demons you collect, you can meld them together at a dark cathedral, creating a new, more powerful ally. It's a highly rewarding and engaging system that continues into the most recent Persona games, as you seek to harness greater power only limited by your level. It's definitely clunky and slow, but it's so satisfying creating a new friend and laying waste to previously daunting foes. There is a unique narrative twist on the summoning system, that being if your alignment leans in favor of Chaos or Law, you'll be unable to wield certain demons. This makes maintaining a neutral alignment the only way to summon the majority of minions. It's definitely a hardcore touch, yet the game isn't that difficult. It's the tedious process of picking out each attack which makes the game a slog to play. The auto battle feature allows fights to begin and end in moments, as you basically rush the enemy, reducing the tedium, and you'll do this all the time as the alternative is too damn slow. Even when you encounter a tougher mob or boss, it's still quite straightforward as ice and electric attacks guarantee the enemy is stunned, thus can't have a turn, so you just need to spam lock long enough to finish them off. It works all the time and makes elemental spells like Force and Fire totally inferior. I feel a lot of my grievances and nitpicks come from the lack of feedback or visual presentation. The sprite work is pretty good, but the lack of animations, not having your team members on the screen, creates a weird disconnect as you struggle to associate bizarre demon names to their respective owners. The constant repetition of the combat and the level design made playing the whole thing for dozens of hours a real chore. Yet those genuine moments of character and strange humor are here. The various shops that sell essentially junk as armor, or you can equip various guns and swords, becoming your own teenage cyberpunk badass, is incredible and hilarious. Then you spend 20 minutes sorting through a painfully small inventory space that quickly accumulates with junk items rather than useful tools and gear. It's very disheartening stuff. But I can't shake away the tone or the narrative that kept me engaged as you piece together different factions and deities. Few games have made me reflect or feel a sense of regret for my actions. The problem is that it struggles to maintain your interest over the endless fights you knock over and the very basic visual presentation. Those that don't already have the connection to the series like I do are much better off investing their energy into the more polished and refined later titles. I can, however, recommend the game to fans of the franchise and better understand the progression of the ensuing games, as well as a piece of history, and those wanting a dark, brooding adventure that truly pushed the limits of what games are capable of will do well to check out Shin Megami Tensei.